Jon Mendez here with our new how-to. This one's about stepped hulls. Traditionally the realm of fast race boats become much more mainstream into sort of small pocket rockets and even some reasonable sized sports cruisers. There's an interesting question as to why. Why do we want to put steps in the hull? Well, it's all to do with efficiency. If you can introduce a bit of air underneath in a controlled manner, you're basically lubricating the gap between the hull and the water and allowing the hull to perform as before, but with greater efficiency and therefore less fuel. A couple of other little benefits that they can do. You can have a much softer ride, again because that layer of air that you're entrapping produces a cushioning effect. And also the boat tends to run very flat. Instead of having an acceleration and the bow rising and then dropping, they tend to accelerate quite flat and then they tend to stay very flat. So the nice pointy bow can do its work of cutting the sea and giving a nice degree of comfort. Like every good thing, there's a little bad side, and that's traditionally they were a little bit more prone, because you put air underneath, to being a bit slidey and possibly even a bit hooky at speed, so one had to take care. So new developments have shown by having the last step cut back from the transom and putting a couple of vertical parts either side of the drive itself, you have a lot more lateral stability and a lot more grip. So getting it going is just like anything else. Pop it in gear, have a good look round, make sure you're not about to cut anyone up, and then we're going to make sure the steering's straight, bring the power on, and just as it starts to bite, unlike a non-stepped hull, the bow doesn't rise very much, it just goes. Keep feeding the power in. There's the air coming under the hull and you just feel it glide off across the surface. And although there's only a little chop, it runs very smoothly. Bring a little bit of trim up and that's already doing 24 knots and it's really nice. And you'll see the wake behind is very, very flat as well, because there's not a lot of boat in the water and it's cushioned by that little bit of air. Really, really good performance from not a massive boat. To slow, we just gently ease the power and at the same time trim it back down, and you'll see as we slow it's a bit bumpier because obviously the air's gone, we're just acting like a normal boat now. So I mentioned one needs to be slightly cautious in the turns, and it's all about just common sense, same as all boating. Once you've got it up and going and you've trimmed it up a little bit so you're getting the maximum speed, keeping that drive as flat and efficient as possible, when we turn, all we've got to think about is, do we need to trim it down at all before we turn? So we're going to go gently to starboard, and as we turn, just having a good look, making sure that we're comfy, and you can feel it grips beautifully. Straighten up and then gently around to port. And all I've done is lower the trim just a fraction through the turns. And then I'm going to take this all the way round. And as we come round, we'll be going downwind. And downwind in a stepped hull is just beautiful. Come out the turn, little bit of power, little bit of trim, through our own weight, and she's off and flying. And just look at how flat she runs. And then slowing down is just the same as before. Gently ease. And as we ease, we just trim down.